a piece that I think we have it here actually. Chris Stott, or I might have gotten it from the library. Chris Stott does a whole DVD on multi-axis turning. And this is his female form. And this is really a pretty basic piece. So that if you want to give a try at multi-axis, this is a pretty good one to start with. The other thing about multi-axis is that this was just, I was kind of interested because I'm going to be in going to enter a show, figure studies, in next month, and I thought, well, I'll turn a thing, and I remembered this Chris Stott one, so I thought I would do a piece on that. And when I went looking for, I got the DVD and I was watching the DVD, and then I decided, well, I'll do some more searching and see if there's anything out there. And so I started searching on multi-center or multi-axis human form, and the first good article I came up with was Barbara Dill. And so I started reading through that, took her, she had stuff, papers you could download and stuff like that. Well, lo and behold, that's the whole feature of this month's AAW magazine. So I had already talked about doing this before that magazine came out, so it's just fortuitous. So if you go home and you want to try it, there's a lot of information in that article in this month's AAW magazine. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. I'm just doing it out of a piece of 2x2.
And she had 2 previous articles on that going back.
Yeah.
Almost 07 maybe.
Yeah. Well, there was one that was really good a couple years ago that also showed pictures of each of them. And I'll talk a little bit about, there's 2 basic type. There's parallel, all right, and parallel gets you stuff like this. Okay? So these pieces are all turned with the off-center, all right, but both the drive side and the tailstock side are on the same side. So there's holes here and holes here. This is turned with the centers like this, and then it's turned with the centers here, all right? So this is called parallel, where you have the drive center and the live center on the same axis, all right? The other one is where you take it and you, although this isn't too much because this is only really has one axis that moves and one axis that's staying, but when they cross and like this, okay, the parallel ones go like this. The multi-axis one goes like this, and that's much more complicated to envision. I will say though that you think these things would be easy to say, I want a simple curve, okay? That one wasn't too bad. I want a curve, an S curve. Man, the very first thing I did was cut it exactly the wrong way. The first one I had was fine. When I flip it over, because all you're seeing ghost images and shadows, and you're thinking, oh, okay, I want it to go this way. And it takes a while to get into your head what the ghost shadow represents versus the real wood image, and where you have to turn. So one like this, where it's turned like this, this, and this, when you flip it over and turn it from the other axis, it's not necessarily intuitive that you're going to cut it exactly where you think you should cut. All right? So you have to play around with some of these things. But this one and most of them, they're all started just by turning a cylinder first. And this is out of square stock. These 2 are not out of square stock. They're just out of thin slabs of wood, okay? Oh yeah, sure. This one was a little wider, but these aren't round. You're getting the double air effect of turning multi-center, but you're also not turning a full piece of wood, all right? but you can turn them around. One of the things that I thought was pretty interesting out of Dill's article is that piece I made with the tenons on the top and the bottom, okay? Where you turn the multi-center part, let's say you want to make a goblet, you turn the goblet cup and turn the base separate, put holes in them, and then put the tenons on the multi-center piece, rather than trying that, turn that all as one multi-centered piece with the cup and the foot. You can't really do that, okay? And in fact, I found it pretty hard to do the tenons on those because you can't tighten up the tailstock very much because there's nothing in there. It's bent like this, and so you're actually like compressing a spring. So you have to be very careful and with a very light touch in order to turn the tenons. It doesn't matter so much on this one. You don't need an absolutely clean surface because you're basically going to turn the entire surface. Okay, now one of the things that Chris Stott does that was kind of surprising, when he did this, I didn't really understand why he was doing this, but it made sense to me later on. He turns a ball at this end. And I thought, why is he turning a ball? Well, let me just knock off some of this here. And then he takes it off. Knock up bar. Here. And he puts a chuck in. Now I was thinking, why don't I just do it multi-center? Just between moving the drive points around, but what he does actually is capture that right in the center part of the jaws. And the reason for that is this. All right, you can support this from the chuck in any position. And although that's not an absolute requirement, it does add a lot of stability when you're cutting it. All right? Because as I go to the next couple of positions here, it's nice to have that extra stability that I don't get from just having 2 points, just a small drive center. Now I've done a bunch of these just as practice, and these are all turned not with the chuck, they're just turned between centers. But it is helpful to get that extra stability, so I'm going to do that tonight.
Now, have you got it bottomed out?
No,
No?
no, because it's in that hole
Okay.
that's in between the jaws. Okay, so the first part of this we're just going to do between centers. All right, and I'm going to turn a little base. Now, if I was doing this for something, since the foot is basically the same size as your cylinder, if I wanted to make this bigger and more stable, I'd probably turn it and put like for a tenon here and put it in another base so it could sit into another base. All right, but I'm going to want to turn this down to what'll be, I'm doing this part right now, and I want to turn it down to this foot diameter. Okay, and so this is kind of the calf and knee in here. All right, that's why it's rounded, and coming down, we're coming down from the waist up here. Now really what I ought to do in here is have some sandpaper. I didn't bring any sandpaper tonight. Because once you on multi-axis turning, pretty much you sand as you go, okay? Because it's very hard. With this setup I found I could never go back. With once I turned an axis and changed it, I couldn't really go back. I can if I'm using a regular, just a spur on here, because you can reset it again. If I say, oh, I don't like where those hips are, let me cut them back a little bit. But on this one, I can't.